And then you had the kids, Savion Glover, you had Domisha Sumbry Edwards, and you know those names now because they are the hoofers of our time. So it was a family and it was school. I always talk about going to that show every day was going to school. And then Ruth Brown, her song, Body and Soul, was before my song and dance, I'm Confessing. So I would be standing in the wing every night watching her sing that song. And it was a lesson on how to stand still because she didn't move. This dress just draped. She just stood there and looked out and sang the whole song, and you ended up in tears. That was a lesson in how to command a stage. Because I was, what, 20 something? Linda Hopkins, oh my goodness. She was a lesson in how you could bring class and humor to the stage. And those kids were amazing. Kids, huh? Now they're grown people with kids of their own. The reason that Dermisha and Savion are who they are is because you had all of those historic hoofers pouring into them. And so they are a piece of all of them. And so that's why they are such masters in their field. It's pretty extraordinary. Part of passing on that art of tap and hoofing was passing it on to my daughter. She started tapping with Arlene Kennedy and Paul Kennedy in Los Angeles when she was 17 months old. She was literally in diapers. And that's because Arlene Kennedy had a gift of teaching tiny little people to hoof. So by the time they were 4, they were hoofing. So Domisha came out of that school. There's all these kids that came out of what was called the diaper crew with Arlene Kennedy. She was magic. Miss her every day. And so my daughter started tapping with her because I knew that was the place to put her. Though I could teach her, Arlene was the one. And so she continued to tap. Tap became her love. She at some point was in my junior rhythm keeper company. She also came back this past weekend to make an appearance in the show with me and the other alumni. It was fantastic. And she's currently in a company where she taps out of San Francisco called La Mezcla. And she performed at Lincoln Center 2 weeks ago. And I went up to New York to see her. So the tradition continues through the family. So I'm very proud of her. There is a pride we both have. This is part of the art of tap, but also the historical connection as African-American women and people, and all of those artists that came before us and all that they had to fight through. You know, I always think of the Nichols brothers. When I show someone a video of the Nichols brothers doing Jim Jam jumping in stormy weather, and when I have people going, well, how could we not know who these folks are? They're better than anyone I've ever seen. There's a documentary they have called We Sing, We Dance. If you watch that documentary, you see the struggles that they went through just because of their color. We know who Fred Astaire is. We know who Gene Kelly is. If you ever heard either of them talk about the Nichols brothers, they elevate them above themselves. But we don't know about the Nichols brothers at the same level because, yes, they were in different films. If you look at it, they're not an integral part of the plot. And that's because when those films went south, they would take the Nichols brothers dances out. I say it was the South's loss. And then when the films were shown in the North, they drop it back in. I thank my mother because she made sure that I knew who I was, especially as a dark chocolate Black woman here in America. I think I, talked about the situation with Black and Blue. If I had been another person who didn't know who I was, finding that out as to why they didn't hire me could have crushed me as a young woman. But my mother, I remember as a child, would always go, your skin is so beautiful. Your hair is so beautiful. And always pumped me up. And I didn't realize what it meant and started working with other Black women. And they didn't think they were beautiful. And it was foreign to me. I was like, what are you talking about? And I went to my mother and I said, how did you know to raise me that way? And she said, I was very clear. I was going to send you into a world that was going to tell you you were the opposite of who you were. She said, you had to know who you were. So no matter what they said to you, you would be like, yeah, okay, I know who I am. She said, because the images were going to be not you. That moment didn't crush me, and no other moment that came up crushed me. Because she also taught me that I raised you so that you would be comfortable wherever you were, comfortable saying hi to the brothers on the corners. You pass them, and they'd be fine. Hey, Kyme, how you doing? To having dinner at the embassy in France. And at 22, I had dinner at the embassy in France as a guest. And so she predicted that. And so I thank her every day because she gave me the power to be able to navigate through general racism that we deal with as artists, or even our own colorism within our own race, because there is a damage there that we're all working through. And she just had her 80th birthday 2 days ago, and love her very much.
Brava, Kyme. What a great story. Such a wealth of wisdom, especially for this generation today. And what resonated with me the most is when you talked about the family of Black and Blue and how the elders poured into all of the dancers. Learn from the best, and you will be the best at whatever you do. The family of Tanya Gibson Clark would like for people to either consider becoming an organ donor or to support and donate to Life America, an organization that strives to increase the number of donated organs for patients awaiting life-altering treatments.